My wife started crying when her ex proposed to someone else on Instagram. Me, 34M, I never thought I'd be that guy who posts his marital problems online. But here I am, after 3 whiskeys at my brother's apartment, wondering how the hell I got here. I guess I need to start from the beginning. My wife, Sarah, 32F, and I've been married for a little over a year, together for 4. I thought we were happy, the kind of happy people post about on social media with those nauseating captions about soulmates and forever. But I guess that's the problem with happiness. It's as fragile as glass when it's built on the wrong foundation. Sarah and I met through mutual friends at a charity fundraiser. She was vivacious, intelligent, and had this laugh that made everyone around her smile. I was drawn to her immediately. We hit it off that night, and within 2 months, we were officially dating. The relationship moved quickly, maybe too quickly looking back. She moved into my place after 8 months. I proposed at the 2-year mark during a trip to Bali. She cried when I got down on one knee, said it was everything she'd ever dreamed of. Our wedding was beautiful, small and intimate, just close family and friends at a vineyard overlooking the ocean. There are always signs, with hindsight, always signs, aren't there? But we see what we want to see. Sarah had an ex, Marcus. They dated for almost 6 years before breaking up about a year before we met. I knew the basics. College sweethearts, moved to the city together, had plans for a future that eventually fell apart. She told me they wanted different things. He was focused on his career and wasn't ready to settle down, while she was. The breakup was his decision, and it devastated her. I never pressed for details. Everyone has a past, right? And she seemed to have moved on. Marcus was just a name, a closed chapter before we began. At least that's what I told myself. Throughout our years together, his name would occasionally come up. A mutual friend would mention him, or she'd see something that reminded her of a trip they'd taken. Normal stuff, I thought, nothing to worry about. Until 3 days ago. We were lying on the couch after dinner, both scrolling through our phones, a comfortable silence. I was reading about a new hiking trail we could try that weekend. Sarah was on Instagram. Then I heard it, a small, almost imperceptible gasp. I glanced over. I saw her, frozen, staring at her screen. Her face had drained of all color. "What's wrong?" I asked. She blinked rapidly, not looking at me. "Nothing, just..." Something surprised me. I went back to my phone, but the atmosphere in the room had shifted. Something was wrong. After a few minutes, I heard a sniffle. When I looked again, tears were silently streaming down her cheeks. "Sarah, what happened? Is everyone okay?" She tried to wipe her tears away quickly, forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "It's stupid. It's not important." I moved closer, concerned. "Hey, talk to me." She hesitated, then turned her phone towards me. On the screen was a picture of a man kneeling in front of a woman on a beach at sunset. The caption read, she said, "Yes. Can't wait to spend forever with my best friend and the love of my life." I didn't recognize the couple at first. Then it hit me. The man was Marcus, her ex, the one who wasn't ready to commit, proposing to someone else. "Oh," I said, not knowing what else to add. I expected her to brush it off, maybe make a comment about being happy for him or surprised by the news. Instead, she whispered 5 words that shattered everything I thought we had. "It should have been me." Her voice was so soft I almost didn't hear it. Almost, but I did. And in that moment, something inside me went cold. I stayed silent. What could I say? My wife was mourning a future that didn't include me, right in front of me, crying over another man's proposal, not because she was happy for him, but because she wished it were her in that picture. The rest of the night passed in a blur. She composed herself, acted like nothing had happened, made some comment about being surprised. That's all. We watched a movie. She cuddled up next to me like always, but nothing was the same. Nothing would ever be the same again. After she fell asleep, I lay awake all night, thinking, remembering all the times she'd mentioned him in passing, The way her face would light up when his name came up in conversations with mutual friends. How she kept a box of old photos tucked away in the back of our closet that I never questioned. All the puzzle pieces were clicking into place in the worst possible way. The next day, I went to work like everything was normal. I smiled at colleagues, attended meetings, all while making calls during my breaks, canceling our 5-year anniversary trip to Greece, the lavish honeymoon trip we never took after our wedding because we were saving for it. The perfect 2 weeks I'd spent months planning as a surprise for her. Non-refundable deposits be damned. I called a lawyer during lunch. Made an appointment for the following week. When I got home, Sarah was working late. I packed half my clothes, my essential documents, my grandmother's watch. I left my wedding ring on the dresser. I put the printed copies of our canceled honeymoon itinerary on the dining room table, along with a handwritten note, "Go chase what you lost." Then I called my brother. Asked if I could crash at his place for a while. He didn't ask questions, just said to come over. That's my brother. I was halfway there when the text started. First confused, then panicked. Where are you? What's going on? What do you mean by this note? Please come home so we can talk. Then the calls, one after another. I didn't answer. Around midnight, the tone shifted. I know what this is about. You misinterpreted. I didn't mean it like that. Please. I didn't mean it. It was just the shock. It didn't mean anything. You're everything to me. By morning, there were 47 missed calls and over 60 text messages. Voicemails I couldn't listen to. Emails I couldn't open. I called in sick to work. Turned off my phone. Tried to figure out what to do next. My brother gave me space, but made sure I ate something. Asked if I wanted to talk about it. I gave him the abridged version. He called her some names I won't repeat here. Then offered to go get the rest of my stuff from the apartment. Not yet, I said. I need to think. And that's where I am now. Thinking. Hurting. Wondering if our entire relationship was just her settling for second best after the man she really wanted didn't want her back. Was I ever her first choice, or just the consolation prize? The worst part is, I still love her. That doesn't just disappear overnight. But I don't think I can unhear those words. I don't think I can look at her without wondering if she's thinking about him. I don't know what I'm going to do next. The appointment with the lawyer is still on my calendar. My phone is still off. My brother says I can stay as long as I need to. Maybe this seems extreme to some of you. Maybe you think I should hear her out. But when someone shows you who they really are, or in this case, who they really want, you have to believe them the first time. Update. 24 hours later. I turned my phone on briefly. The messages continued. Some angry now, others desperate. Friends have also started reaching out, saying Sarah is extremely worried, that I need to at least let her know I'm okay. My brother went to the apartment to get my laptop and a few other things I need for work. He said Sarah looked terrible. Hadn't slept. Had been crying. Part of me feels guilty. The other part remembers that her tears weren't for me. He also said the honeymoon documents were still on the table where I left them, untouched, like she couldn't bear to look at them. I asked if she'd said anything to him. He hesitated, then told me she just kept asking where I was, if I was okay when I was coming home. Said she needed to explain, that it wasn't what I thought. What else could I do? I asked him. He didn't have an answer for that. Neither did I. Update. 3 days later. I've moved from my brother's couch to his guest room. Seems like this will be a longer stay than initially planned. Went into the office today. Needed the distraction. Everyone could tell something was wrong, but no one asked. Small blessings. Sarah has started emailing me since I'm not answering her calls or texts. Multiple times a day. Long emails. Explaining. Pleading. Angry. Then apologetic again. The emotional roller coaster is exhausting, even from a distance. The gist of her explanation, yes, she was upset seeing Marcus engaged, not because she still wanted him, but because it brought up old insecurities. Seeing him commit to someone else when he wouldn't commit to her made her feel inadequate again. It was about her ego, not her heart. She says she loves me, chose me, wants me. But that should have been me comment was just a knee-jerk reaction to feeling rejected again. Maybe that's true. Maybe not. The problem is, I don't know if I can believe it. I finally listened to one of her voicemails. Her voice was shaky, barely audible at times. "Please come home," she said. "I can't lose you over this. You're my whole world." What I said didn't mean what you think. Please let me explain it in person. I haven't replied yet. Still processing. My lawyer says we have options. We've been married a little over a year, no kids, thank God. Division of assets would be relatively straightforward. The word divorce feels so final, so devastating. But staying in a marriage where I constantly wonder if I'm the second choice would be worse. Some of you have asked if there were other signs that she wasn't over Marcus. Looking back, there were moments I downplayed. She kept a photo album of their time together. I never looked through it. Respected her privacy. But sometimes, she'd take it out when she thought I wasn't home. Early on in our dating, she'd occasionally call me by his name when she was tired or drunk. It stopped after a few months, and I chalked it up to an honest mistake. Last Christmas, we ran into him at a mutual friend's party. She was excessively bubbly the whole night, laughing too loud, touching my arm constantly, like she needed to remind herself I was there. We left early. She claimed a headache. But there were also thousands of moments where she seemed completely present with me, completely in love, making plans for our future, supporting my goals, being my partner in every sense of the word. Which makes all of this even more confusing and painful. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to believe. Update, 1 week later. After much consideration, I decided to meet with Sarah. Neutral ground. A coffee shop downtown. My brother thought it was a bad idea. Maybe he was right. But I needed answers. I needed to see her face when she gave them. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in a booth in the corner, hands wrapped around a mug she wasn't drinking. She looked smaller, somehow. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back messily, wedding ring prominently displayed on her finger. I ordered a black coffee I had no intention of finishing and sat across from her. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The weight of everything unsaid filled the space between us. "Thank you for coming," she finally said. Her voice was hoarse. I nodded, waiting. "I know what I said hurt you," she continued. "I know how it sounded. But you have to believe me, it's not what you think." "What is it then?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "Because from where I'm sitting, it sounded like you're still in love with your ex." She flinched as if I'd slapped her. "I'm not. I swear to you, I'm not." "Then explain it to me, Sarah. Explain to me why seeing him propose to someone else made you fall apart. Explain to me why you wished it was you." She took a deep breath. "When Marcus and I broke up, it wasn't mutual, you know. He told me I wasn't what he wanted long term. That he couldn't see a future with me. Do you know what that does to a person? Being told you're not enough." I kept silent. For years, I believed him. I believed there was something fundamentally wrong with me that made me unworthy of being loved long term. And then I met you. Her eyes filled with tears. You loved me. You wanted a future with me. You proposed. And for the first time in so long, I felt worthy again. She wiped her eyes with a napkin. When I saw that post, it wasn't because I wanted to be with Marcus. It was because I was wondering why I wasn't enough for him when this other woman is. What does she have that I don't? It was about my own insecurities, my own wounds that I thought were healed, but clearly weren't. "That's not what you said," I pointed out. "You said it should have been you." "I know. And that was wrong and hurtful, and I wish more than anything I could take it back. What I meant was, it should have been me back then. The me from the past who craved his validation so desperately. The me who felt unworthy when he left. Not the me who has you now." She reached across the table towards my hand. I pulled my hand back slightly. I wasn't ready for that contact. "I love you," she said fiercely. "Only you." I have chosen you every day for 4 years, and I will choose you every day for the rest of my life, if you'll let me. Marcus is my past. A past I thought I'd dealt with, but clearly haven't fully. But that doesn't mean I want him. It means I still have work to do on myself. I considered her words. They made sense, in theory. But the image of her crying over the proposal was burned into my memory. The honeymoon, I said after a moment. I'd been planning it for months. It was going to be a surprise for our anniversary. Fresh tears rolled down her cheeks. I saw the itinerary. It looked perfect. All the places I've always wanted to see. The day you were crying over your ex, I was finalizing the dinner reservations at that rooftop restaurant in Santorini you always talk about, the one with the sunset view. She covered her mouth with her hand, stifling a sob. That's the thing, Sarah. I've spent 4 years paying attention, learning what you love, what you dream of, planning a future centered around our happiness together. And in one moment, you made me question if any of it was real. It was real, she insisted. It is real. My reaction wasn't because I wanted to be with him. It was about old wounds I didn't realize were still open. Please believe me. I want to, I said honestly. I really do. But something still didn't fit. I need time, I said finally. I can't just come home and pretend this didn't happen. What can I do? She asked, desperation creeping into her voice. How can I prove to you that you're the only one I want? I don't know, I answered honestly. I need to think. We parted ways shortly after. She hugged me before I could pull away, holding on tight like I might disappear. I stayed rigid in her embrace. I wasn't ready to give in yet. As I walked away, I heard her call after me. I love you. Please remember that. I didn't turn around. Update, 2 weeks later. Still at my brother's. Still going to work. Still existing in this weird limbo. Sarah continues to contact me daily. Sometimes I reply briefly, to let her know I'm okay. Sometimes I don't. She started therapy, she tells me, to work on her unresolved feelings about her past relationship. Not to get you back, she clarifies, but because she realizes she should have done it years ago, before it hurt us. I appreciate that. It shows self-awareness, at least. Friends have started taking sides, as they do in these situations. Most are sympathetic to me, think I'm justified in my reaction. A few think I'm overreacting, that one comment in a moment of weakness shouldn't erase 4 good years. Maybe they're right, but they didn't see her face when she said it. They didn't feel what I felt in that moment. The sudden, sickening realization that maybe I've been living a lie. I had my own therapy session yesterday. Spent most of it trying to articulate exactly what's stopping me from accepting her explanation and moving on. The therapist asked a question that's been haunting me ever since. Are you more afraid that she's still in love with her ex, or that she settled for you when she couldn't have him? Both possibilities hurt. Both feel unbearable. I asked for the timeline of her relationship with Marcus. Wanted the full picture I'd never asked for before. They were together 6 years. Broke up because he didn't want marriage or kids. At least, not with her. Maintained sporadic contact after, birthday messages, occasional run-ins with mutual friends. Nothing inappropriate, she insists. We met 11 months after their breakup. Started dating soon after. I asked her if she was ready then, or if she jumped into our relationship to heal from the previous one. She says she was ready, that she'd processed enough to open her heart again. But now I wonder. The lawyer called, asked if I wanted to proceed with the filing. I told him to wait, for now. Not because I've decided to reconcile, but because any decision I make, I want it to be deliberate. Not reactive. Not made in the heat of the moment. Sarah asked if she could drop off some of my things I might need. Clothes for work, my favorite books, my running shoes. My brother went to meet her. Said she'd packed them all neatly, organized by type. Had tucked notes into some pockets. Little messages of love and apology. He said she asked 1,000 questions about how I was, what I was eating, if I was sleeping. My brother, who was initially firmly in the divorce her immediately camp, seemed to soften a little after seeing her. "She's a mess, man," he told me. "Really broken up about this whole thing." "Good," I said immediately, then regretted the pettiness. "Look," he said, "I'm on your side no matter what. If you want to end it, I get it. But if you're considering working through this, well, she seemed sincere, for what it's worth." Even my staunchest ally was wavering. Maybe I should be too. But then I remember that moment on the couch. The raw honesty in her whispered words before she knew I was listening. And I hardened again. Update: 1 month later. I moved into my own apartment last week. A short-term lease, 6 months. Still figuring things out, but I needed my own space. My brother was great, but a man needs his own bathroom. Sarah helped me find the place. Not directly. I'm still keeping some distance. But she sent me listings she thought I might like. This one had good natural light and was close to the park where I run. She remembers these details about me. It matters somehow. We're talking more regularly now. Texts throughout the day, an occasional phone call. She's been open about her therapy, the insights she's gaining. Turns out she'd put Marcus on a pedestal after their breakup, romanticized what they had, because the rejection hurt too much to face head-on. Easier to believe she'd lost something perfect than to accept that the relationship had real problems beyond his commitment issues. I've been doing my own work in therapy, examining why this hit me so hard. Yes, hearing your wife wish she was engaged to someone else is objectively painful. But my reaction, the immediate assumption that our entire relationship was a lie, says something about my own insecurities, too. I've always felt like I punched above my weight with Sarah. She's beautiful, vivacious, the kind of person who lights up a room. I'm more reserved, more steady. I've carried a quiet fear that someday she'd realize she could do better. When I heard those words, they confirmed my worst fear, that I was always the consolation prize. But was it fair? For years of genuine connection reduced to ashes by 5 words spoken in a careless moment? I don't know. We met for dinner last night. A quiet restaurant where we had our 3rd date, years ago. She wore the blue dress I've always loved, her hair down the way I like it. She was trying, visibly trying, to remind me of what we had. The conversation was stilted at first, then gradually relaxed. We talked about work, about my new apartment, about the TV shows we'd both been watching separately. Normal stuff. It felt strange and familiar at the same time. After dessert, a tiramisu we shared, she brought it up. "I've been thinking about the honeymoon," she said softly. "About Greece." I tensed slightly. "What about it?" "I looked at all the places you'd planned for us to visit. The hotels you picked. That cooking class in Crete." She shook her head, a sad smile on her lips. "It was perfect. Everything I've ever dreamed of." "That was the point," I said quietly. "I know. And that's what I keep coming back to. Marcus never knew me that way. Never paid attention to what I wanted, what I dreamed of. It was always his career, his goals, his timeline." She looked directly into my eyes. "You know me better than anyone ever has. You see the real me." I nodded slowly, acknowledging the truth in that. If I could go back to that moment on the couch, she continued, I would shake myself. I would remind myself that we are real and that it was just wounded pride talking. Because what we have, what I hope we still have, is real. What I felt for Marcus, it wasn't. Not at the end. And certainly not now. I wanted to believe her. I was starting to. "I can't promise I'll never have another moment of insecurity or misplaced nostalgia," she said, "but I can promise to be honest about it. To work through it properly, instead of letting it blindside us both. And I can promise to choose you. Every day, in every way. I choose you." We didn't resolve everything that night. I didn't go home with her. I didn't say I was ready to try again. But for the first time in a month, I felt a flicker of hope that maybe we could find our way back. Update: 3 months later. I moved back home last weekend. Our home. Sarah's and mine. It wasn't a dramatic reunion, no running into each other's arms in the rain movie moment. Just me, with my suitcases and boxes, returning to the space we'd created together. She'd left everything exactly as it was. My books on my nightstand, my favorite mug in the cupboard, the throw pillows I always criticized but secretly found comfortable. It was like she'd preserved our life together, waiting for me to come back to it. The decision wasn't made lightly. We spent the last 3 months rebuilding, slowly, carefully. Weekly dinners that gradually became twice a week, then more. Long conversations about everything, our childhoods, our fears, our dreams for the future. The kind of talks we should have had years ago, but somehow skipped over in our rush to be together. We went to therapy, individually and together. Unpacked all the emotional baggage we'd both brought into the relationship. Her unresolved feelings about past rejection, my deep-seated fear of not being enough. I learned that Sarah had spent years thinking something was fundamentally wrong with her because Marcus hadn't wanted to build a life with her. That seeing his engagement triggered all those old insecurities in a moment of emotional ambush. That her words came from a place of wounded pride more than lingering love. And she learned how those words confirmed my worst fears, that I was the safe option, the one who loved her more, the one who would never leave. The turning point came a few weeks ago. We were at my apartment, cooking dinner together. Some cooking competition was playing in the background. The host mentioned Santorini, and Sarah went completely still. When I looked at her, tears were streaming down her face. "What's wrong?" I asked, alarmed. "I keep thinking about that rooftop restaurant," she whispered. "The one you booked for us in Santorini. With the sunset view." I nodded, throat tight. "You remember I mentioned it once, years ago, just in passing? I'd seen it in a travel magazine and said it looked magical." She shook her head, marveling. "You remember something I barely remembered?" "I remember everything about you," I said simply. She crossed the kitchen, took my face in her hands. "That's what I've been trying to tell you. Marcus never did that. Never would have. He didn't love me like you do. And I never loved him like I love you." Something shifted inside me in that moment. A knot that had been tight for months began to loosen. We're not completely healed yet. There are still moments when the doubt creeps back in, when I remember her tears over his engagement. But they're getting less frequent, less powerful. 2 days ago, Sarah surprised me. She'd booked a trip. Not to Greece, not yet. Just a weekend at a beach cabin a few hours away. "A new memory to build," she said. "A first step towards our belated honeymoon, which she hopes we'll take next year, on our anniversary." It was on that beach, watching the sunset from the porch of our cabin, that I finally pulled my wedding ring out of my pocket, where I'd been carrying it for months. She watched, barely breathing, as I slid it back onto my finger. "Are you sure?" she asked, voice trembling. I didn't answer honestly. Not entirely. "But I'm sure I want to keep choosing you every day until I am." She cried then. And this time, I held her. Let her tears soak my shirt. Those tears were for us. For what we'd almost lost. For what we were fighting to rebuild. Last night, back in our bed, for the first time in months, Sarah whispered to me in the dark, "Thank you for giving us another chance." I pulled her closer. "Thank you for showing me it was worth it. We're not perfect. Our relationship isn't perfect. We both have more work to do on ourselves and as a couple. But I believe now what I couldn't believe 3 months ago, that those 5 whispered words weren't the truest thing she'd ever said to me. They were just the most painful. The truest things are in the details. The way she cuts fruit for me in the morning before work. The text she sends when she sees something that makes her think of me. The way she still reaches for my hand in her sleep. Marcus may have been her past, but I am her present. And if we keep working, I'll be her future, too. For now, that's enough. Final update. 6 months after that day on the couch. Sarah and I are in a good place. Better than before in many ways. More honest. More intentional. We don't take anything for granted anymore. We've rescheduled the Greece trip for next summer. Sarah insisted on keeping all the same bookings. The cooking class, the sunset cruise, and yes, that rooftop restaurant in Santorini. I want exactly what you planned, she told me. It was perfect. As for Marcus, his name rarely comes up now. Sarah unfollowed him on social media the day after our confrontation at the coffee shop. Not because I asked her to, but because she realized it wasn't healthy for her. Some wounds need distance to heal properly. Last month, we ran into him and his fiancée at a friend's birthday party. Sarah squeezed my hand when she saw them, a silent acknowledgement of the weight of the moment. We chatted briefly, surface-level pleasantries. I watched her face carefully, searching for any sign of that old hurt, that old longing. What I saw instead was polite disinterest. She was cordial, nothing more. And when Marcus and his fiancée walked away, Sarah turned to me, eyes clear and a genuine smile on her face. "Ready to go home?" she asked. I was. We were. Sometimes I think about the version of myself from 6 months ago, sitting in my brother's apartment after 3 whiskeys, wondering if my marriage was over. I wish I could tell him it gets better. That what feels like an ending might just be a difficult middle chapter. That sometimes the most painful moments lead to the most necessary growth. Sarah and I aren't the same couple we were before. We're more careful with each other's hearts now, more deliberate with our words, more grateful for what we almost lost. Yesterday, I overheard her talking on the phone to her sister. "I can't imagine my life without him," she was saying. "He's everything." This time, I believed her. They say every marriage has moments that test its foundation. Earthquakes that reveal the cracks. Ours certainly did. But we've rebuilt on more solid ground. And now, when I look at our future together, I don't see doubt anymore. I see possibility. I see us.